Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes of the World. I'm the Hughes. This is the world. How are you all doing this morning? We've got Lost Missionary in the chat. We've got Liam Fairhurst. We've got Liam Devlin. The two Liams. That's one more Liam than Oasis. Brilliant. We've got Lost Missionary. We've got Hidden Night. We've got Billy Kershaw. We have got Driving in Luton. And Chrissy is in there as well. Hello, Chrissy. How you doing? Listen, if you want to join our little chat group here, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button, hit it really hard, hit it, and get there in the end. And if you do that and wait for approximately one of your good Earth minutes, you should be able to join in with what people are saying. So today we're going to be talking about... Oh, look, Drown the Sound is there. Hello. All right, mate. All right, Sean. Okay, so if you would like to talk today about Andy Burnham, they've come to the right place, because we want to talk about whether he can actually do this. Can he actually become Prime Minister? And is he the saviour of Labour, or is he like a gift to refuck UK? You know, Nigel Farage's outfit of gobshites and spivs and corrupt politicians, corrupt career politicians. Great turn of phrase yesterday that came out of the James O'Brien show, which is that Nigel Farage is the Count of Dodgy Crypto. There's an O in there that doesn't need to be there. Okay, so Makerfield, place no one's ever heard of. No longer, I've never heard of it. Honestly, it's halfway between Manchester and Liverpool, which is kind of right for Andy Burnham, who was born in Aintree in Liverpool. He's an Everton fan, like myself. Yes. It's secret Everton cushion behind me. He was born in Aintree, but he grew up in Newtonley Willows, which is about halfway between Liverpool and Manchester. So he lives in Warrington now, which is about halfway between Liverpool and Manchester. So he's sort of half Scouse, half Manc. It's this area around Wigan, which is halfway between Manchester and Liverpool. It's apparently going to have a new MP very soon. It could be Andy Burnham, or it could be whatever fucking dickhead the refuckers put in, or tried to put in. Like when they tried to put in that Matt Badlew's guy. No, sorry, Goodwin. And he came up on his arse, didn't he? He's a pile of shite. He was this guy who was like a university professor he wrote a book about fascism, and he went, "Ooh, I'll have me some of that." And he became a fascist after writing a book about fascism, which is fucking crazy. Imagine that. It's like Jamie and the Magic Torch, except it's a book. Do you know what I mean? Like you go on an adventure, or Mr. Ben, you know, he puts on the clothes and he has an adventure. So instead of that, he wrote a book. Matt Goodwin, he wrote a book and he turned into a fash twat. Anyway, this has effectively become a proxy leadership election for the future of Labour, the Makerfield election. If Andy Burnham wins convincingly, the pressure is put on Keir Starmer, which will be almost impossible to resist. If he loses, Labour looks even weaker, it looks even more divided, chaotic, and vulnerable to the reform. Although it might be a boost to Starmer. Because people are like, well, better the devil you know. You know, he tried, he failed. But I will posit that if Andy Burnham can win in this constituency of Makerfield, right, then against everything that the fuckers can throw at him, then he deserves to be the Prime Minister, because he's obviously shown that he can fend off the threat from refuck. So there's all stuff going on at the moment. So just take it back to brass tacks. Keir Starmer, deeply unpopular with the electorate, deeply unpopular with his own party. Last week on Sunday, so only 6 days ago, 7 days. 7 days ago, Catherine, I've forgotten the name now, sorry, Catherine West, that's it. Catherine West said, right, if no one else stands up and says this guy's got to go, then I will. And so Starmer replied on Monday, and we carried it on the Morning Brew show on Monday. It was the most tedious fucking speech in the world, where he's like, well, we've got to come together and we've got to look into the facilitation of the bureaucracy of the different departments of government and decide what it is that we want to do together in order to make a better economic outcome um the nation and the nations that make up the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And if I do that, then people will listen to me. And what we can do is we can take a few percentage points off the GDP, off the PRI, off the IRA, and what we'll do is we'll come together, and we need to work together to be interesting. Because I'm not very interesting, and everything I say sounds really boring, and my delivery makes it even sound more boring. And despite the fact that what I'm saying is boring in the first place, I don't know how you can make it more boring, but I somehow managed to do that. That was his fucking speech. That was his fucking speech. I was like, what the fuck? All right. Fucking hell. Anyway. But yeah, so and then there was all rumours. There was all rumours going around that well, actually, after Catherine West listened to that and went, yeah. Okay, I'll stand down then. I think she was hoping that that guy with the shiny face, what's his name? Shiny face guy. Shut up, Wesley Streeting. Yeah, he was like, oh, and he's like briefing against the Prime Minister, briefing. And then on Thursday, just after my morning show, he decides that he's going to resign. Well, I'm going to resign now from being the Secretary of State for Health. Good. Let's get someone in who's not a turf. Anyway, so that happened. And then everyone said, oh, he's got a leadership bid. He's got about a leadership. And he didn't. So everyone was refreshing their phones going, oh, when's he going to do the leadership bid? And he didn't. But out of nowhere, Andy Burnham went, I'm going to stand in my mate's constituency. He's going to stand down for me. And I'm going to run there. And I'm going to become an MP again. He sent Labour into a bit of a spin. And then yesterday... it was made. Shut up, Wesley. It was. Yesterday, it came out that Keir Starmer would not block his selection as an MP for Makerfield, and then it came out a little bit later on yesterday that the NEC will not block him either. So he's been cleared by the NEC, National Executive Committee of Labour, who decides who's allowed to run for selection and who can actually who can't. And in January, when Andy Burnham tried to run in Gorton and Denton, they said no. But this time they went, oh, all right then. Which is the best move they could possibly make in this situation, I think. So now Andy Burnham's up to selection. It's up to the local members of the local party in Makerfield, the local Labour Party, the local active members to go and vote for him to be their MP. If you've ever been part of a political party, this sometimes happens. You get to select who you want to be as your MP, even if they are parachuted in from afar. Like we had Enfield North MP Stephen Twigg parachuted into West Derby for the 2010 election, which I was happy to have him to take the seat because I didn't really like the previous guy. I forgot his name, Warbeck or something. He was a twat. Anyway, but yeah, so you get a vote on that. So Burnham's got to do that. He's got to get selected. Then he's got to get elected. That might not be as easy as it looks. I know some of us get up in the morning and make all this look very easy. But actually, it's a lot harder than it looks to do all this shit that people do, I guess. I don't know. Should we set a goal? Should we get a goal? I think we should get some super chats in, and then we can release the confetti. And if we get enough super chats in, we might do a second sesh, and we might go as far as getting a Boba Fetty in. Please let me know in the chat, like, how you're feeling about Burnham and whether you think he's going to save the day or you think he's going to make a bad situation worse. Do you love him? Do you hate him? He went running yesterday in a vintage Everton shirt, right, from 1982 or 1983, back when Everton were good. It was so long ago. But apparently his shirt was worth hundreds of pounds. This is reported in the news that he had a vintage shirt, Everton shirt, and it was worth hundreds of pounds, and he went running in it. I'm like, you know that Nigel Farage takes a private jet to get everywhere? Yeah. The trains exist. Anyway, so yeah, look, Burnham's tied his personal credibility to this race. This is not a cautious move. This is a bold move. And if we're going to ask for more bold politics with Zach Polanski, we need things like this, right? I'm going to argue that, right? The problem is that we are not living in a world where we are prepared to put up with timidity. And Keir Starmer represents timidity. He is just like, oh no, I don't know, I don't really. Oh, am I going to be? I'm in the leader now. Oh, I'm very angry now. I'm going to put on my angry face. Oh, my football team's doing well. I'll put on my excited face. Oh, I'm so in love. Let's have sex. This is my sexy face. You may have noticed that his angry face, his happy face, and his sexy face all look the fucking same. Because he's like a fucking robot. I mean, I don't hate the guy. You know, there's people who proper fucking hate him and they go, oh, he said this thing 4 years ago in an interview, the bastard. And it's like, well, that's not what he meant. I defended him. Oh, I don't want to defend him. Don't make me defend him. I don't want him. I've got better things to do with me time. You know, like drink me fucking coffee, you bastards. But yeah, just what, you know, just we need a bit of oomph. You know, I'm an excitable scouser. Come on. And you know what as well? How about having a northern prime minister, and then we have Angela Rayner back as deputy PM. You know, representing Manchester, Andy Burnham representing Liverpool. Come on. We haven't had a Scouse prime minister since fucking Gladstone, mate. Gladstone. Yeah. Got a statue of Gladstone in Manchester. Even though he's a Scouser, they've got a statue of him in Manchester outside the town hall, designed by Alfred Waterhouse, who is a Scouser. I love Manchester. It would be nowhere without the Manchester Ship Canal, which is just a trench to drag that of Liverpool's river, the Mersey. Anyway, yeah, you know. So this is not a cautious move. He could have waited for a safer seat. He genuinely could have. You know, if he'd ran in Walton, Liverpool, he would have won by fucking 99%. Instead, he's heading directly into what one Labour MP has called the ground zero of red wall reform anger. So, I mean, this tells you that Burnham believes Starmer is finished. The Labour MPs are desperate. The political moment is now. Some are saying this is a setup because the guy who's stepping down was running the Labour Together think tank, which is sort of become synonymous with the red Tory, red tie Tory, Blue Labour, a faction of the party, which I think is a little bit unfair. I think the whole point of Labour Together was that it was supposed to win the next election, and it did, general election. But then since they've actually got into power, do you know what it reminds me of? I don't know how you come across in meetings or how you interact or whatever. Look, Goose Springsteen, thank you very much. £10 super chat. Biggest danger would be to portray Burnham as disloyal stroke overly ambitious Europhile outsider who is interested in becoming an MP and is using Makerfield as a stepping stone to the PM role. And you know, saying he's overly ambitious, I kind of want to kick back up against that because he's the guy for the job at the moment. He's the only politician in the country, I think. I mean, not never mind just in Labour, but in the fucking country, whose approval ratings are above water. Okay? Everyone else is minus 14, minus 40, minus 474. Right? Andy Burnham is plus 4. I know that's not very much, right? I know that's just over the line. But he's got his head above the water. Everyone else is down there looking for the wreckage of the fucking Titan submersible. So, the political moment is now. I don't know if anyone else would have stood down for him. It might be a trap. It's a trap. If it is, then then Burnham disappears off into the good night. Like, that's it for him, his political career, I guess. Unless he can still stay as mayor while he's running to become an MP. I think he can. I don't think there's a rule against that. It's just he can't be an MP and mayor at the same time, because there's a crossover of, he could have been, if it had been a different mayoralty with different obligations, but because they rolled the role of mayor in with the role of the police commissioner, and there's some sort of separation of powers thing that you can't be the police commissioner of one place and an MP for certain reasons. So there you go. And Hidden Knight says, I said it before, and I'll say it again, we all need a Burnham in this day and age. Yeah, so let's go back to this meeting thing, right? So I'm terrible in meetings. I fucking hate meetings, right? Because you come along and you go, I've got an idea, why don't we do this? And that's the worst question you can ask, because there's other people in the meetings who are as boring as fuck, who don't want to do anything, who are completely risk averse, even when it's not them risking anything. I'm like, I will do this. I will go out and create this thing. I will make this gig happen. I will make this website happen. I will make this video happen. I will make this march happen. I will go out. And then people go, oh, what if it all goes horribly wrong? You know, we used to hear this when we had the marches against Brexit, and it was like, well, but what if no one comes and everyone laughs at us? I give a fuck. I've had parties where only fucking 5 people and a dog have turned up. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. You know, I invited 100 people, only a few people turn up, so I'm going to have a good time. I don't give a fuck. I don't sit there going, oh, well, you know, no one turns up. And these people, this overabundance of caution, eventually you get to the point where you're like, oh, well, fuck it then. I can't be bothered with this anymore. You know, when you got someone who has got the oomph and got the, you know, the excitability and the kind of like, come on, let's do it. Let's do the show right here. And everyone else around them is going, oh, well, you know, what if it rains? What if the Queen dies? What if, you know, and it just takes the wind out of your sail. It's like people who, you know, when you show them something that you're proud of, or something that's exciting, or something that's happened in the news that you think is good, right? And the first thing they do is find something to say find something to criticize about it. Find something to say, oh, well, it's not quite right. Oh, it's not, oh, but what about this? Oh, and I know people can't help being the way they are, but for someone like me, it's fucking frustrating as fuck. And Starmer is that person for me. Like, Labour going, come on, let's do some really cool things. And he's like, well, let's sit down and consider what we're doing. And I mean, the previous guy was even fucking worse than that. Like, loads worse, like infinitely worse. But still, this new guy sort of follows that same pattern of like, well, maybe we should sit down and consider our options. And now's not the time. Now is not the time. We need someone who, we need Mondami. We need a Mondami for the United Kingdom. That's what we need. Guy who's just balanced the $12 billion, with a B, $12 billion budget deficit in New York City. Fuck. Wow. Goose Springsteen, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. On the New Statesman podcast, they said Josh Simmons was phoning around trying to get Burnham a better seat, but no one else was willing to sit down. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. It's a risk. But you know what? I'm glad it's a risk. I'm glad that to win this, he needs to fucking fight like hell. Because if he fights like hell for this seat, then my hope is that he's going to fight like hell for this country. He's going to fight like hell for the downtrodden, for the people who've been shat on by the rich so much that they've begun to love the taste of the rich's shit. And they're all the refuck voters. These people who are disillusioned with the status quo. So what we're going to vote for is a bunch of fucking Tories who actually created the situation we're in at the moment. We're going to vote for some fucking old boy for some fucking cunt farm. Sorry, I shouldn't call them that. Posh Borstals. Private schools. Because he's not establishment, you know? He's kicking against the establishment elites. You know, he's just someone from the establishment who flies around on a fucking private jet. And why is no one talking? Right, we talked about the $5 million that was given to him by Christopher Harbon. Well, Ben Habib has accused both fucking Boris Johnson, corrupt fucking, you know, shill for anyone who'll give him a fucking fiver, in it for the money, and Nigel Farage, fucking corrupt shill for Russia, for fucking the cryptocurrency, for anyone who gives him a fucking fiver. You know, this is the guy who said up the bar for 86 quid or something. Up the bar, he said. For he didn't know what it meant. He didn't know what it meant. You fucking arsehole. And he's like, oh, I'm not supposed to be across everything. People get me to say. No, you just fucking check. You just fucking check, you dickhead. But he can't be arsed doing that. He's too busy making money. He's feckless. Doesn't look at details. Not a details man. Like Trump, like Johnson. Just come in and fucking wreck everything and feather the fucking nest. Anyway, Bieber said that both of them, both Johnson and fucking Farage, took £1 million each off Christopher Harbon. You know the guy, the guy in Thailand. You know, Sankrit's bullshit crit, whatever his fucking Thai name is. The Thai crypto billionaire, privately educated, of course, gave them £1 million each, and it was for just before the 2019 election. It was a bribe for Nigel Farage to step down his MPs in Tory seats, allowing Boris Johnson to get his landslide victory in 2019. Bruce Springsteen, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Yay, thank you. Instead of a big name ref may run a local councillor, Robert Keenan, who is a plumber, ex-army, and worked for the NHS. He's a Makerfield lad and seems real salt of the earth type. Better choice than Goodwin. Yeah. Without making any cuts, Graham, you left that bit out. What did I do? What? Josh Simon, sorry. Is it I don't know. I'm just going to call him Simon. Josh Simons was my contact when a Labour member. He's a lovely lad. Yeah, doesn't seem like a bad person. I mean, people go, he's Labour together, he's a bastard. It doesn't seem that bad to me. Ooh, SG, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Polling day is Thursday, the 18th of June, 2028, so barely a month to go. At least it'll be short and hopefully sweet. By the way, why can't the left use bots on Facebook too? SG, come join me in my motion to make this happen. I do want the left to use bots. I want the left to use AI-generated shite. I want them to have pictures of Nigel Farage worshipping in a mosque, okay? I want to have pictures of Nigel Farage, I don't know, kissing Freddie Mercury or something on the lips with tongues, right? Just make an AI image of it and just send out, go, oh, look, when Nigel Farage was younger, he was massively gay. You know what? You'll get loads of fucking mad homophobes who are like, oh, gay people, oh, he's secretly gay. I mean, he probably was because he went to private school. I mean, there's no girls around, is there? And those crackers ain't going to wank on themselves. But that aside, we could do stuff. We could do fucking evil stuff to piss off the refuck voters, you know? Get them all wound up. Just get them to hate Nigel Farage through lots and lots of bots. You know, every time anything about Nigel Farage is put on anything, you want to get that picture that says, if he was prepared to say up the bar, I mean, it's the fucking IRA, man. It's the IRA. I mean, come on. You know, you're going to get too many unionists climbing on board that and going, yeah, he's like, aye. Fucking hell. Yeah, so up the bar, put that there. And then, you know, what's he prepared to do for 5 million? Just anytime everyone says vote reform, you know that happens just before an election. Don't they? Vote reform. Just put that in vote for this twat. He's not denied taking the 5 million. He's not denied it. He's changed his fucking tune though, hasn't he? He said, oh, well, it was because I needed protection. I needed to pay for Dwayne The Rock Johnson to protect me for 2 days. Because that's how much he charges. I mean, come on. You have 2 security guards, right, to follow you around at all times. That's 50 grand a year. So each. So let's say 100 grand a year, right? So, does he need protection for 50 fucking years? He's not going to last that long. You're not going to last that long, Nigel. Oh, I can't wait till your big, beautiful day comes, Nigel. Oh, I'm going to party like it's 1999. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be fucking amazing. It's going to be wonderful. Now, I haven't drank for a while. I had a little bit of wine the other night because we had a little bit left over from a friend of Kat came round to visit. But since I got back from the island about a month and a half ago, I've not really had much to drink. So what I'm thinking now, right, is is when the big beautiful day happens, whether that's to Trump or Farage or whoever else, Putin, Netanyahu. I mean, Trump is 79. Netanyahu is 76, I think, and Putin is 73. I mean, just fuck off, old men. Just fuck off. Anyway, they're closer to the end of the line than they are to the beginning, right? So, it will happen. I'm just thinking now, fuck, it's going to be really cheap. Because, you build up like a resistance to alcohol if you drink a lot, right? And I've probably lost that. So I reckon, right, half a glass of baby sham, I'm going to be on the floor. It's going to be brilliant. The world's going to be swirling. It's going to be like, fucking hell, what the fuck is going on? Be running around the village, ripping down all the flags. I'm unstoppable. It's going to be fucking great. So yeah, I'm prepping. It's not intentional. It's not like I've got to give up drinking or become a teetotaler. I haven't. I just haven't drank for a while. So I'm just thinking, I don't have much money, so it'll be easier. It'll be easier to get fucking rat-arsed. Anyway, hey, in celebration, pop open the fizz. Prosecco, obviously. I'm not a champagne socialist. I'm a Prosecco socialist. Can't afford that shit. Jesus Christ. Who do you think I am? Agreed. Why I expect Gavin Newsom changing the playing field in America. Yep. Gavin Newsom there's some parallels with Andy Burnham, actually, Gavin Newsom. Just saying it like it is, which we need. We need people to not use politics. I think that was a fantastic line that Angela Rayner came out with, or it's been attributed to Angela Rayner, that Labour are a analog party living in a digital world. They absolutely are. And we need to sort that shit out. Being short helps Labour. Being short helps hobbits as well. The longer this runs, so does the hairy feet with the leathery soles. The better chance refuck be digging at old nonsense. Also on the back of 5 million being fresh in people's minds. Yes, gay people have better taste. That is very true. Lost missionary. Gay people have fucking. Do you like the thing is though, right? You've got sort of, I think there's like gay taste, which is fabulous, and then you've got like repressed gay taste. Stay with me on this one, right? Think about like Liberace, right? What Liberace thought looked great, right? This is a guy who successfully sued the Mirror for like shitloads of money for accusing him of being gay when he was gay. But I understand why he did it, because at the time being gay was against the law. So yeah, fair enough. Go, Liberace, no problem with that. But his taste was all a bit tacky. It was all a bit OTT. There was nothing cool about it. Do you know what I mean? He didn't take the chins and make it look awesome. Like you could argue Elton John does. But Donald Trump has the taste of a gay man who's so in the fucking closet. He's in Narnia, hasn't he? Look at what he puts around himself. It's just like, oh mate, it's like a John Waters film. I'm just saying. Hidden Knight says, yeah, I understand. There was just many that don't do that stuff. It's just more how they feel is fair, which is the real engagement. Play the way you need to act, if that makes more sense. Yeah, honestly, if this was a safe seat that Burnham was going for, I'll be sitting there going, well, good, we need Burnham back in the party. But and I might get my wish that I sent him a little kiss. I sent him a little kiss on the ballot sheet in 2015 to become the leader of the Labour Party, and I didn't get my wish. So maybe now delayed gratification, yeah, even better. But yeah, I think if he was standing for in a safe seat, okay, cool, he's back in. But this particular seat, because we know it's going to be a battle. Because we know it's going to be difficult, because we know it's going to probably go down to the wire, and we're all going to stay up on the night of the fucking polling and be like this, I think that is a good sign that he's willing to take the bull by the horns and say, okay, the problem is refuck, right? All things being equal, If refuck weren't doing so well, and they're only doing so well because they're being given millions by crypto cretins from the other side of the fucking planet, who live on the other side of the planet, they're doing well at the moment. They're only, and because of that, the The political grounds has shifted. Honestly, if it was just Keir Starmer against Kemi Badenoch, two-party politics, I don't think we'd have much to worry about right now. But it's not. That isn't the situation we're in. We've got to defeat Refuck, and we've got to take him down. But if Refuck beat Burnham in this by-election, it's going to be devastating, because they can claim that they defeated Labour's Great Northern Hope. They can claim that Labour's heartland is gone. Yeah, this is a seat that was won by Labour quite comfortably 2 years ago. So, it's not outside the realms of possibility of Labour winning this. It is going to be an uphill struggle because of what's happened since, but they won it by 5,000 votes. I mean, that's pretty comfortable, all things considered. But, if Refuck beats Burnham, they can claim that Refuck is the true opposition outside the London elites, the metropolitan elites, the elites. And I'll tell you why sort of Burnham appeals to so many Labour members, because he appears to have convictions, and because Keir Starmer is so inscrutable, and I don't think that he doesn't have any conviction. I'm sure he does, but Burnham projects warmth and emotion and regional pride, local identity, stuff that Starmer doesn't really do. He does come across like a fucking citizen of fucking nowhere. I don't know where he's from. I don't know, he doesn't have that identity about him. Where, Starmer just projects this like caution and managerialism and legalism, message discipline, and, a lack of emotion, a complete fucking bot when it comes to, if he was an architectural style, he'll be brutalism. He'll just be like clean straight lines, and it's just a big fucking block. I've made a block, and you're like, oh, it might look nice once you take it out the box. No, the building is the box. Oh, you made a Borg cube and somehow made it less, interesting by not even having all the little pipe bits all over it. Okay, cool. Whereas, architecture with emotion in it, real emotion, architecture that, you see and you go, oh, fucking hell. That more represents what I want to see in politics, especially now, because people vote with their heart. I keep trying to fucking say this. I know no one listens to me, but people do vote with their heart. They really fucking do. They don't vote with their fucking... They don't go, well, actually, I've looked at all the polls, and these are the person who's best positioned, using my calculations, and I've done my equations, and I've worked out who will be best placed to benefit me and my family and everyone I love in the next... They sign up and go, I've heard of that guy. Anyway, Burnham has spent years building a recognisable political identity. I'll say Burnham actually sounds like someone who enjoys politics. Whereas, do you feel? I mean, this is maybe just me, but like Starmer comes across to me as someone who looks like he's having to endure it. It looks like he's, when you see like the difference between like runners in a race, and you see someone and they're just like, and they're just like powering through, and then you see Usain Bolt just like, he's like the fucking road runner. He's like, meep, going over that. And the joy on his face, he's just looking back at everyone going, did you see how fast that was? Did you see how fast that was? You know the difference? It's like there's people who are doing something and they look like they're in absolute suffering and agony doing it. And there's others who are like, hey, this is great. Yeah, I'll put Starmer in the first camp, and I'll put Burnham in the latter. And I'm not trying to build him up so much, because I don't think he is the fucking great fucking savior of everything. I don't think that. But compared with Starmer, no matter what happens, if we could just press a button and swap them out tomorrow, I think he'll do a better job. I might be wrong, and if I am wrong, I'll put up a little pop-up that says I was wrong. But we need to beat Refuck. We need to beat Refuck. If you can prove that he can beat Refuck in Makerfield, then Burnham has opposed austerity. He's reformed public transport in Manchester. He's got loads of fucking regional investment into Manchester. Loads. You've seen how many fucking buildings, empty fucking, luxury apartments that have been built in the city centre. I mean, he's just getting the fucking money in. He is a big proponent of devolution. He has been very critical of Westminster centralisation. And one of his great lines in all this is like, I want to decentralise the political system for everyone. And that famous moment when he stood up to Boris Johnson during COVID restrictions, there was a moment there where Burnham became the mouthpiece of a very, very frustrated nation. And that was back before we even knew Boris Johnson was having his dick sucked off, in the fucking, and in the back room while his wife was doing God knows what upstairs. And, they were splashing fucking wine up the walls, or breaking fucking swings, little baggies of cocaine everywhere. Coke and sex parties. That's what Boris Johnson had during the lockdown. You couldn't go to your nan's funeral, but fuck me, he could get his rocks off, couldn't he? The fat cunt. Anyway, sorry, I shouldn't go off on one about Boris Johnson. He's just a fucking evil man. Out there to feather his own nest. Remind you of anyone? Farage. Chris C. For our amazing mod, Diz. Thank you for that, Diz. Our favourite rocking mod. And here we go. We're going to get the confetti out. 3, 2, 1, confetti! Woo! Ooh, confetti time! And it's not even 10 a.m. So, what I'm going to do now, right? Because you're being very nice, you're being very generous. Oh, we got another one from Paul Thomas. Oh, hang on. I'm going to get the next level up. We will have, if you're up for it, another 5 super chats, and we will have Boba Fetty. We will, my friends. Join me for Boba Fetty. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Regarding this by-election, look at the 1965 Leighton by-election and the circumstances around it. It's quite the fit. Ooh. Yeah. I always say I like being proven wrong. It means I learned something. Yeah. Yeah. You see, I've spoken about this before, but like normal people, when they fuck up, they feel shame. They feel embarrassed. Years later, you can think of some time in your past where you've done something stupid, you said something horrible, you've done the wrong thing, you got something devilishly wrong, right? And you feel this kind of tightening of your stomach. That's your body. That's your brain. That's your whole essence of being telling you, don't fucking do that again. The problem is, with a lot of people who happen to be in a particular voting cohort, beginning with B and ending in Umas, a lot of people in that cohort don't have that. They have no shame. They have no capability of self-reflection. And because they have no shame, and because they have no capability of self-reflection, possibly because 90% of their brain is now made of lead, they cannot improve themselves. They cannot become better people. They cannot become nicer, more compassionate, more empathetic. They just literally can't do it. And it's why so many people in America vote for Trump. It's why so many people in this country vote for Nigel Farage, despite everything he's done. They don't care. They don't care that he's corrupt. They don't care that he's a thief. They don't care that he's working for the Russians against Britain's best interests. They don't give a fuck about any of that. Because to give a fuck about that would require empathy. And all they can see is the fact that there's some people, let's call them refugees, who are having a shit time of it, and Nigel Farage wants to make their shit time of it even shitter. Because these people get off on other people's misery. That's what gives them sexual gratification. It is fucked up beyond anything that Sigmund Freud fucking came up with. These horrible, nasty older people, not all old people, not all boomers, but 2/3 of them have this mentality where they will not learn anything. They will stubbornly not learn a fucking thing. You have people who are around now, right? Who can't use a fucking mouse. They can't use a computer. They don't know how to attach a fucking email. Put an attachment to an email. They don't know how to do the fucking basics. And I don't mind if it's like some brand new software that's just come out. But you're talking about stuff that they've had 30 years to learn. 30 years to learn how to put a fucking attachment to a fucking email. It hasn't changed in 30 years. You click on the fucking paperclip and then you select the file. But they just don't, they can't learn. You know this thing about old dogs, new tricks, that kind of thing? And it's not for all older people. There's some people who are just absolutely on it. I met a guy He's probably not with us anymore because he'd be so old it'd be painful. And he was 96 years old, and he was a surgeon in the Liverpool Royal Infirmary. He had retired in 1979 when the old infirmary, designed by Waterhouse, actually, the same guy who designed Manchester Town Hall. Fun fact. When that shut down and everything moved to the Royal, he retired. And we sat down to do an interview with him, and I had a list of questions, right, that he had been given in advance, right? We sat down, 96 years old, and we pressed record on the tape, and he started talking. No notes, nothing. He remembered every single question that had been sent to him in advance, that had been emailed to him in advance, right? He remembered every single one. I didn't have to ask him a single question from my list of questions. And the only time that we had to stop him from talking was because we had to literally change the tapes on the cameras. Like, this guy was sharp as a tack, 96 years old, absolutely, completely on it, like you would not believe. So I'm not saying all old people, I mean, they don't know what's happening. But there is a distinct aspect of the older generation at the moment, right? Which I think is a transitory thing. I don't think the younger generations are quite so bad at this, but they are at once quite selfish. It's a very selfish generation. 2/3 of them. Obviously, not all of them, but there's a majority. Can we agree that there's a majority? Are selfish and lazy. These are lazy people. These are people who went, I could work, but I don't want to anymore. Okay, what are you going to do with your time? Are you going to do something constructive? Are you going to help out in the community? No, I'm going to sit on my arse and watch Homes Under the Hammer for the next 30 fucking years and get money for doing so. I mean, I don't mind if you're helping out in the community. I don't mind if you're taking in foster kids to look after them. You've got nowhere else to go. I don't mind if you're volunteering at the local homeless shelter. That's fine, great, good. You keep them busy. I like that. But if you expect the taxpayer, me, to pay for you to sit on your ass when you could work because you think you've worked enough, who works that out? I'm sorry, but somebody who's worked down a mine for 5 years has worked harder than someone who's worked in a bank for 50. Hard work. Oh, I've worked enough. I can sit down now on my arse and watch Homes Under the Hammer. Anyway, Boba Fett, he finally got out the second mouth of that Sarlacc pit. Well, there was a terrible, terrible, terrible TV show called The Book of Boba Fett, in which he did exactly that. And he went in as this guy felt like young, skinny lad, and he came out this sort of podgy fucking old man, all a bit weird. My old man is pretty good with his laptop. He just can't get on with phones. Not bad for a bloke who's 85 this year. Yeah. Graham, you don't even need the paperclip icon, just drag and drop. Yeah, that's true. Farage is basically that kid. Yeah, but drag and drop is relatively new. I mean, that's only 15 years old. So, yeah, they've only had 15 years to learn that one. But you're right. The paperclip has been the form for the way of putting attachments to emails for a very, very long time. Silly Billy Tilly, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Thank you. That's very kind of you. On a different note, does anyone notice the bus fare cap has been lifted? My local bus company is now charging £4 for a single trip. Jesus Christ. Well, you see, we haven't got the bus here for ages. It's just too expensive. Like, it's 10, even when it was capped at £2.50, which apparently has gone up now, so whatever. But like for me and Kat and the two kids, it would cost us £10 to get into town and £10 to get back, £20. Whereas we can drive our electric car into town, park nearby, so we don't have to pay for parking, and just walk in. And it costs about 50p in electricity. Well, fun fact on that, Graham. They basically took Patton Oswalt's joke from Parks and Rec and turned it into that speech he did in the Book of Boba Fett. Yes, I've seen that. Not all, but a certain section of the voters believe that in individualism and therefore cannot grasp the concept of empathy. Yeah. And so we've got a generation of very selfish, very lazy people. And do you know what? They're happy to talk about to diss the younger. They're happy to shit talk the younger generations. Oh, everyone's fucking lazy. Everyone just doesn't want to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Everyone wants to have fucking avocados. And, there's a point in this where it's not entirely their fault. They have been fed an unleavened diet of bullshit for the last 40 years, 50 years of the tabloid filth newspapers since the mid-70s. Yeah, 50 years now. Bloody hell. Woo! For an extra £1, you can get a taxi into town. Yeah, Chris, you're right. You're right. And he says, but they do care, though. They want someone to justify their own criminal and immoral tendencies. They will call their corruption the real world and being realistic. Yeah, they do that. Yeah, I've heard that before. We're just being realistic. But the beautiful thing is now, we have Mandami in New York. Ta-da! Now, one of the defences of Labour is that I understand that balancing the books in New York is a little bit easier than balancing the books for the entire country. There's certain things that he could do on a local citywide level, not just changing the way that they so they don't bring in everything as a contract job, bringing a lot of these contract jobs in-house, take a lot of money. But there's also a lot of money that was supposed to come from the state of New York to the city of New York, which no New York mayors had really fought for. So he did fight for that, and he got it. There's not really an equivalent to that, except maybe the International Monetary Fund for an entire country like the UK. It's not like we can go, hey, France, can we have some money, please? And they're like, oh, yeah, here you go. Here's that extra money that we owe you for some reason. It doesn't quite work like that, does it? So, yeah, and one of the things is we've said, oh, well, Labour, they haven't been in for 2 years yet. They've got a lot of problems to fix. Yeah. But here's the thing. Like, Mondami has done that. He only got elected in fucking November, and he's already balanced the books. And he hasn't raised tax on working people. He put tax. He identified a particular tax that he could put on people in New York that they couldn't do fuck all about. It was a property tax on properties worth over $15 million. Mostly vanity projects that people have bought, just to own a thing in New York that they barely fucking used. And he's taking the money off these people who don't really spend any time in New York. And with that, he has made the system so much better. So, for instance, now libraries and public parks in New York don't have to beg every year for funding. It's constant. They get that funding every year, no matter what. Also, free childcare for 2 and 3 year old kids in New York now. Free childcare, because he's taking the money from the rich and now he's distributing it. Money off groceries. You get money off groceries now in America, in New York. He's proved that it can be done. He's like, that's fucking brilliant for us, because it shows what can be done with a bit of oomph. And he's done it with style as well. Look at his videos. They're so fucking slick, SG, sorry, I had to jump back on to say balancing book is an art, not a science. Creative accounting exists. Creative vaccines, not so much. So just do it. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Yeah. The silent generation, like my grandparents were, are more tolerant of other cultures than the boomer generation. Yeah. I think the people who lived through the war or fought in the war, don't forget, it was the people who fought in the war that built the EU. That was the people who fought in the war. They built the NHS, they built the fucking EU. That was them. And they went, because we don't want any more wars. Who was the first president of the European movement? Winston Churchill. Winston Hilda Churchill. I think Hilda was his middle name. Yeah. I mean, wow. Okay. Because they didn't want any more war. They didn't want any fucking war. And then you got these boomers who grew up being, first of all, a lot of them were abused as kids, and it's not their fault. But they had a father who would be distant or violent towards them because of the effects of the war. PTSD wasn't something that was diagnosed. If these boomer kids were in school, if they had ADHD, if they were autistic, if they were dyslexic, if they were left-handed, they would be beaten. They would be beaten like black and fucking blue by their sadistic fucking teachers. right? Who would turn up with a fucking cane and smash violence into these little forms, these little kids. And people grew up with that. They decided that the only way to solve problems is through violence. It's the only way. And also they grew up on these legendary stories of daring do in war. It's quite interesting that the sort of the way war stories have been told over the years, especially like movies. If it's a good war, like a war where we win, you'll get a lot of movies that will come out, I guess, just after the war, like personal anecdotes about where you have this sort of story where it's just a small group of soldiers doing an amazing thing or winning an amazing battle, and then it segued into these massive fucking epics like The Longest Day. And Tora and stuff like that, where it's just like trying to show the whole scope of what happened in the war. And then it became a bit more reflective, I think, later on, where you had stuff like Band of Brothers, which was fantastic. It was a fantastic TV show, but it showed just how gritty and it didn't give that sort of sterilized view of the war where someone would get shot. So I think of like the opening sequence of Saving Private Ryan, where someone gets shot, right? They don't die straight away. They start dying because that's what happens. They lie there bleeding out, screaming. They don't just go, "Aye!" Do the Wilhelm scream and fall off a fucking chair and then they die. Do you know what I mean? Aye! That's not how people die. That's not. It's a lot more brutal and But then when you have like a bad war, you go straight in for the fact that war is hell. You saw that after Vietnam with movies like The Deer Hunter, Platoon. Fucking grim as fuck. Casualties of War. If you've ever seen that is a fucked up film. Well, it's a good film, but it's about a very fucked up event during the Vietnam War. And I think my generation has probably grown up with that more gritty, realistic, war is hell films rather than the sort of daring do sanitized version of war that the older generations grew up with. Because it had to be sanitized at the time because you couldn't show that much violence in a film. You just went until like the 1970s. You just couldn't show that stuff. Famously in the Psycho shower scene, they demanded all these cuts to the shower scene, and Alfred Hitchcock said, "Okay," took it away, sent it back. No additional cuts, and he was like, "Right, I've cut it now." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's all right now." Probably because the shock of seeing it for the first time, when they saw it for the second time, they realized it wasn't that shocking, which happens a lot with violence, I guess. We get primed for it. But the romanticism, and me and Ed talked about this a little bit yesterday, the romanticism in the older generation for the wars, that the people who were in the wars didn't want this. I remember growing up in the 80s, and there were, ex-servicemen and women who had been there, and they didn't really talk about it too much. Of course, you get one now, big mouth now and again, but a lot of them, they didn't want to talk about what happened during the war. My granddad, George, he was in the Royal Navy from 39 to 45. The whole time, that was 6 years of the war, he was in the Royal Navy. I like to say that he fired torpedoes at Nazis. He didn't vote for them. But he didn't really talk much about what happened. I mean, I was a kid at the time. He died when I was quite young, so I don't, maybe I just never had that conversation because I wasn't old enough to hear it. But it's not like he came in every day banging on about the fucking war. He barely mentioned it. It wasn't a big thing. We were talking about what's going on in the world and, what's on the TV and what, how Everton are doing, which was good in the 80s. Like I say, Everton were pretty good in the 80s. They did win they lost the FA Cup twice final against Liverpool in 86 and 89, but they did win. The last time Everton won the league was in 1987. Interesting fact, corporal punishment wasn't banned in the UK state schools until 1987. I thought it was banned earlier than that. In public schools, you could still be caned until 2000. Yeah. It's a fucked up way. It's the most fucked up way of dealing with stuff. My father was born left-handed and had it beaten out of him, says Diz. Yeah. That's what they used to do. So look, that upbringing and the lead goes some way to explain why older people are the way they are. But I genuinely feel like we mollycoddle them too much. I think we have to stop doing that. I think we have to stop being so fucking nice. They're not being nice to us. And I'm not saying we need an intergenerational fucking war or anything. I just think we need a bit more honesty. Because if you have any criticism towards the older generation, they get really fucking defensive. Because in their head, like, any kind of criticism whatsoever is the equivalent of a full-on assault. They can't take it. Their ego can't take it. And you got a lot of people who bought a house for £2.50 in 1973, and now their house is worth £12.5 million, and they think they're the Wolf of Wall Street because they've made this great investment. And I'm like, there is a difference between making a great investment and dumb luck. Two different things. There's a difference between looking at Apple in 1975 and going, oh, that might be a good company to buy, 25% of the shares in, and someone buying a house and then it going up in value. One is taking a punt. Might work, might not, but, looking at the details, deciding where you're going to put your money. The other is just dumb luck. It is just dumb fucking luck, and it's never going to happen again. You buy a house now for £250,000, it's not going to be worth 25 million in a few years' time. It's just not. It's just not. Plants McGee, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. Thank you. Join Hannah Spencer MP in Makerfield today. We are doing door knocking and deliveries, so we're popping up in a park in Hindley with Hannah Spencer today. Hindley Playground on Danes Avenue. Join us at 1 p.m. There you go. Advert for the Greens there from Plants McGee. And we've got George. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat. There's a subsection of the boomer generation who aren't the same as the earlier boomers. I'll put some convo in the comments later if anyone is interested. My mum's watching this. Hi, Mum. Sorry, I was just talking about your dad. The Hid Knight says, it's wild that private schools had corporal punishment banned long before public schools. Hearing the chats talking about it feels very unchristian of this country. And then Chris says we need to either introduce UBI for everyone or look at capping the state pension, removing the triple lock, and stop handing it out to millionaire pensioners. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think that the economy is in a place for UBI at the moment. If we hadn't left the EU, I believe it would have been. So if you want to complain that we haven't got UBI, if you want to complain that we haven't got a high-speed rail, if you haven't got complain that we haven't got an integrated, an updated, decentralized grid that can actually handle the fact that we're going to have these different power sources all over the country spread out. If you're going to complain about all that, then just know that the reason we can't have all those nice things is because we pulled out of the EU, and we know that we have 100 billion less coming to the exchequer each year than we should have had we not left the EU. And so far, that's £1 trillion. I've had many disagreements with boomers on Nextdoor, and many debates end up with me getting a ban for being discriminatory. Yeah. But I do think that pensions need to be means tested. And you can be quite generous with it. Absolutely. But think about it this way: 25% of pensioners are millionaires, right? And if they're getting their very, very generous final salary pension from their banking job or their civil service job, whatever they had, if they've got that pension, then they're doing quite well, and they're living in a house that's now worth £1 million, right? And they're getting the state pension as well on top of that, and the winter fuel allowance. Well, they were until recently, right? So, my point is here that if you've got a pensioner who's living in a massive fucking mansion with 17 bedrooms, right? At the moment, the state is set up in such a way that they can stay there until they die. Or they could be forced to sell up and move to a smaller property, right? Especially if there's just one of them. And then 17 families could move into that house. It's like, we've got a housing crisis. We have crises right now. Not enough homes are available for people, and yet there's loads of people with 2 homes. It's like, imagine you're just there with like 100 people, and there's 25% of them who are starving, haven't got anything, and there's 25% from the other side who are just fucking doing great. They're doing absolutely fucking great. They've got all the food they need. And they're sitting there. They've got too much food. They're scraping it into the bin in front of the starving people. That's the equivalent that we've got now. And don't forget, 20% of pensioners are living in poverty right now. So let's stop giving money to the people who don't need it, right? And then we can up the pension for the people who do. And they go, oh, but what about, people who made bad life choices? Like, we have to penalise people because they didn't get a job in a bank, because they didn't get a job in the civil service, because they didn't get a triple gold-plated fucking pension fund, final salary pension, so they're now earning £55,000 a year, sitting on their arse, watching Homes Under the Hammer, going, oh, well, that's a good idea. Maybe we should buy another house. We've only got 17. Maybe we should give more money to the people, we balance it a little bit. But it's just this thing of like, oh, well, I worked harder. No, you didn't. You just got lucky. That is it. No one works harder than anybody else. You just get lucky. That's it. In fact, the further you go up in a corporate structure, the more money you get and the less fucking work you do. Because you get to delegate stuff. You don't have to do the nitty gritty. If you're at the bottom rung, you have to do fucking everything. You have to know how to do everything. The further you go up, you got someone to make your coffee, you got someone to send you fucking emails, you got someone to do your meetings for you and just give you a little fucking script of what happened in the meetings, type up the minutes of the meetings. All you have to do is go, yeah. Just turn up and go, yeah. Or sometimes you have to go, no. It's not working hard. What, making a decision is work? Fuck off. And don't forget, all these companies are limited. They're all limited, which means that if the CEOs, the people at the top, make terrible fucking decisions, the whole fucking company collapses. They're not on the line for it. They don't lose any of their personal wealth. I mean, they might not be able to get their salary anymore, but who gives a fuck? At that point in their lives, they're fucking rich as fuck. But this idea that, a woman who has sacrificed her career to bring up the children, and then the husband has gambled all the money away, for instance, right? And then he's carked it. And then she's left with fuck all. And she's like, in her 70s and just living off the state pension. And you'll have people who will look at her and go, well, she deserves to suffer because she should have made better decisions in life. She shouldn't have fallen in love with the wrong person. To which I say, fuck off. You just don't know. It's just a matter of luck. You don't know where you're going to fucking land. You don't know who's going to want to get off with you or is not going to want to get off with you, and where things may lead. I mean, it's a ridiculous prospect of the worthy poor, well, no, it's the worthy rich and the unworthy poor. They're only poor because they're unworthy. No, it's not the way it works. So let's take some money from these rich people who don't need the extra money because they're millionaires. And, maybe they're only a millionaire on paper because their house is worth over $1 million. Fine. Sell the fucking house. Get something smaller. It's okay. You don't have kids living with you anymore. If you do have kids living with you, then, fine. Whatever. But if you don't, just seems absolutely ridiculous to me. Seems absolutely ridiculous. Oh, hello, says Gallifreyan Wren. I didn't know we were having a Sunday brew. Well, Gallifreyan Wren, what you needed to have done is you needed to have, first of all, given this video a like, because we always like a like. And then I know you're subscribed to the channel, but what you need to do is hit the bell notification icon. And that means when I put a video up, you get a notification on your phone. How cool is that? It's one thing I do like about YouTube. One of the things YouTube does well, it does some things very badly, but one of the things it does well is that it actually makes it so that you can set for specific videos to give you a notification. So you only get notifications to the videos that you want a notification from, rather than just random shit. You turn on notifications from fucking Facebook. Oh my God. It's like, I just didn't need to know that. I didn't need to know. Or it's not like in WhatsApp where you've got to turn off notifications for everything you don't want. You don't want those notifications. So you'll get a message from some fucking random and it wakes you up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, is it? And maybe we should make pensioners start paying national insurance. After all, they are the biggest users of public services. Well, I think we need to readdress the way we look at national insurance. The name national insurance makes no fucking sense because it sounds like you're paying into an insurance fund. So that insurance fund pays out at the end of your working life. No, that's not the way it works. The people who were working in the 1980s were paying for the pensioners of the 1980s. The people who are working now are paying for the pensioners now. That's the way it works. It's not insurance. It's not a big piggy bank that you put money into or your working life. Anyway, so let's head back to Manchester, right? I was talking about the King in the North, wasn't I? Let's talk about why Burnham appeals to so many Labour voters, because he feels like an actual politician with convictions, and I don't mean criminal convictions like what Nigel Farage should have. I'm talking about, like, he actually sounds like he means it, whereas Starmer doesn't. And I think Starmer is a nice guy. I don't have no problem with him on a personal level. I just don't think that he has the connection. The connection. It always feels like there's a wall there. Like an invisible wall between you and Starmer as the viewer, and to listen to what he's saying. And he just doesn't come across as very personable. Whereas, Burnham does. Ooh, confetti time for Dizz's Fix. Oh, we got another confetti. Yes, here we go. We're going to have the Boba Fetty. Let's go put on the Boba Fetty helmet. Yeah, Boba Fetty. Woo, yeah, Boba Fetty. Boba Fetty, Boba Fetty, Boba Fetty, Boba Fetty, Boba Fetty. There you go. We got the Boba Fetty. Woohoo! Should we start another goal? What should we do? What should we do with another goal? What should we do? I think we might go back to confetti again. Confetti! Again. Stop. Anyway, confetti time. Stop. Confetti time. Confetti time. Apparently the new Mandalorian film is a bit shit. Just warning you. I know no one saw that coming. Anyway, so the King of the North image with Burnham. I mean, it was originally designed to be a pejorative, but as often happens with these things, it's actually been turned around to become something that he wears as a bit of a badge of pride now, because politics is emotional. Politics is emotional. All human interaction is emotionally driven. You don't meet with your mates down the pub or in a cafe to go through a spreadsheet together and look at numbers. You don't. You go and have an emotional impact, an emotional connection. I don't think anyone watching this is watching it to find out what's happened in the news. You can just go on a website and find out what's happened in the news. You're watching this because you want to have a chat with the people in the chat. You want to listen to me talking, which is nice. Thank you. You want an emotional connection. Of course you do. That's why I do it. This is my emotional outlet to go, oh my God, what the fuck is going on, with people who feel the same way I do about many, many things. And I was as frustrated as I am with the way that Labour have gone about governing this country, especially when it comes to things like trans rights and comms. Just like their comms have been fucking dreadful, and they haven't been standing up for trans rights. But yeah, politics is emotional, and Labour members, they want someone or something, that they can believe in. They want someone who looks like they believe in something. And Burnham has become a symbol of northern resistance to London, Westminster, but really London. Municipal socialism, with what he's done with the B network in Manchester, a symbol of civic pride and competence. And that matters a lot. A competence outside the London bubble politics. Because we on the left, right? We on the left, right? We care about competence. We want competent politicians. They don't on the other side. They don't give a fuck. They don't care how incompetent they are, as long as someone that they hate is getting a kicking. As long as someone is doing worse than they are. Because there's a lot of sadists out there. And they only get their rocks off when someone else is having a bad time. And then you've got the Manchesterism pitch. I think they're calling it the Manchesterism, which is Burnham's sort of ideology is basically local patriotism plus social democracy. And his allies are pushing this phrase, this is Manchesterism, which makes people feel rooted, pride in place, which is something that Starmer's trying to do. But I think that Andy Burnham will take that to another level, have strong local institutions, community ownership, regional economic identity. People think that they own the things in their own city. It feels a lot better for them. Okay, we feel like we own our public transport. We feel like we own our trains. We feel like we own our buses. We feel like it's part of our thing. So you look at the difference between having a bus company called Mersey Travel, as it used to be. It was still a private company, by the way. This is after the 80s. It's after deregulation. There was a company called Mersey Bus, right? And they ran the buses. I know there's a few others like Fairway and stuff, but it felt, because it was called Mersey Bus, we were like, okay, that's us. But now it's Arriva, which is owned by, I don't know, Deutsche Bahn or somewhere in bloody Germany. You've got a Stagecoach, which is owned by some homophobe in Scotland. There's no regional identity to it. And what London has always done very, very well, it's always had a very strong identity embedded in its civic infrastructure that has been sadly lacking in other parts of the country, because that civic infrastructure was taken away. And it was, we don't have buildings that are built by local people anymore. We don't have buildings that are built by local architects. We have companies coming in from London and saying, oh, we should have a big glass tower. That fucks me off, that. Big glass towers, copy and paste architecture. The people go, oh, work really hard. Fucking architects, man. Look, I know it's difficult working out the plumbing and the electrics and all that kind of shit. But what they do, they just make the ground floor, right? And then they make the first floor, because the ground floor is usually a bit different, but then they make the first floor, right? Once they've made their first floor, they just press Control-C in AutoCAD. They press Control-C, and then they press Control-V and move it up. And then they do that again. They do it again, and they do it again. Suddenly you've got this high-rise thing, and each floor has exactly the same footprint. The building that I was staying in when I went to Toronto last September, every floor was the same. Every floor was exactly the same. I was on the 29th floor, and more than once I got out on the wrong floor. And because the layout was exactly the same on every single floor, I mean, so much so that the carpet was the same color. They had a picture on the wall on each floor, and it was a picture from the same set by the same artist of just colors on canvas. And it just looked exactly the same. Especially if you had a couple of drinks and you go in and you put the key in the door, it won't open. Then you look at it, it says, but also it was symmetrical as well. And they had two elevators, 2 lifts on this side and 2 lifts on this side, right? So sometimes I'd come out on the right floor, but it's kind of like a H shape, and I'd go to the wrong way, and I'm trying to put my key in someone else's fucking door because it all looks the fucking same, right? And I know there are some people who absolutely love that. I know there are some people who get giddy at the idea of monotony and this replication of the same thing over and over again in the exact same proportions and the same shape and the same shades. I get that, right? I'm not one of those people. I like things organic because everything in nature is messy. Everything in nature is repeated patterns, which are all slightly different, whether it's an old brick wall or whether it's leaves on a tree. They're all repeated patterns, but each one is unique. Each one is different. And I love that. That appeals to me. I hate grid cities. I think they're disgusting. I think they're the most, not only are they like horrible to look at for me, because they're just so uniform, and it drives me up the wall. It's like it's a rebuke to nature, but also they make no fucking sense because you just end up with a bunch of like intersections, so the cars can't even fucking travel any faster than they otherwise would do. And I like my cities higgledy piggledy. I like them looking like they've been designed from the top down. As you look at it by a particularly wasted spider, like a spider who's been on the source all night and come back and gone, oh, I'll just have this line come out here, just like, because it's more natural. There are no straight rivers. There are straight canals, but there's no straight rivers. Rivers fucking meander. There's no straight fucking contour lines. You look at a cliff, which is the closest thing you've got to sort of a straight thing in nature. It's not straight. It's all fucking higgledy piggledy. And so when I see a grid system, when I see loads of buildings that are all the fucking same, and they're all made of concrete and glass. Concrete, we're running out of sand, by the way. Concrete's one of the worst things that we could use to build stuff. because we're importing sand from halfway around the world. The transportation costs and these concrete buildings that were built in the 60s and 70s are fucking falling apart, and we'll have to spend millions to remedy them. And they look shit. I mean, never mind the aesthetics. They're really, really bad for the environment. You know what would be better for the environment? Local materials like Liverpool Cathedral. I know that's concrete on the inside, but the outside of it is red sandstone, Liverpool red sandstone. And that was quarried from the quarry that is literally in front of the cathedral. There's the quarry there. They quarried the rocks and then stuck it on the side so it looks nice. And it's a modern building. It was only completed in the 70s. The 1970s. Not the 1870s, not the 1770s, the 1970s it was finished, the Anglican Cathedral. I know there's the shit one, the Paddy's Wigwam, the Catholic Cathedral, which is just shite. I fucking hate it. People go, oh, but it's lovely. No, it's not lovely inside. It looks like a fucking car park. Fuck off. It looks like a fancy NCP car park. Most of the towers in Manchester that G hates were built by Renaker, based in City. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. At least they're local people. They're lot local materials. You know, I want local and also buildings that reflect the culture of the city. So if you have a city like Liverpool where you have loads of warehouses down at the docks, right? If you're going to build a new apartment block, make them look like warehouses, because that's the look of the city. That's probably what was there originally. Put it back. Just put it back, but build it a bit differently. So the roofs are the ceilings are slightly higher than 6 feet. But yeah, people this sort of identity also goes further than just sort of this civic identity, but also the economic identity as well of a particular place. And this matters because refuck succeeds because people feel disconnected and ignored. And Burnham's argument is you don't just need to make the GDP go up. You need to give people a sense of belonging and identity and visible investments in their own areas and local control. The more control you give people over their own lives and their own environment and the things that they see every day, the less likely they are to fall into the trap of refuck, saying, oh, it's all shit, and only by terrorizing refugees can you ever get your rocks off ever again. And this allows Burnham to do something that Labour aren't doing at the moment. It allows him to compete with refuck on the same emotional terrain. Farage offers anger, grievance, sadism, whereas Burnham is offering pride and reconstruction and civic identity. And places like Liverpool and Manchester and Newcastle and Leeds have very, very strong civic identities. Don't know about Hull, but Viper Scott, love this community. Next fix for the Covfefe. Bravo. Yay! Woohoo! Ren, it requires the least amount of washing up. Air fryer, basket, and a saucepan. I know what I forget to get washing up liquid. God damn it, says Chrissy. And then I love it when people just have like random chats in the chat here. Mr. Tisk says United Utilities not available before the 27th to sort our water out. 1 hour plus on phone. Have water but low pressure. Privatise ASAP. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Right, washing up liquid order from Amazon. I know it's lazy, but hey ho, needs must. Anyway, so yeah, Farage and versus Burnham, I think, is going to be an interesting showdown because it really will be a battle for the nation's soul. Something that I don't think that Starmer, although I appreciate the fact that he managed to get Labour in with a stonking great majority, he got 411 Labour MPs into power. That's the most Labour have had since 2001. He also managed to get the Tories down to a historic low of just 121 MPs. It's down to 116 now because 5 of them have left. This is what Starmer, what Burnham is offering is arguably a much stronger counter to Farage than technocratic, managerial, top-down, London-based politics talking about economic growth of 0.6%. Like, no one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck about that. We saw that during the Brexit fucking wars. You said, oh, our GDP is going to go down by 4%. Oh, well, that doesn't sound like very much. You have this when you have like climate change deniers. You say the climate's going to, it's already got hotter by 1.5 degrees. Oh, that doesn't sound like very much. Oh, I don't care. Yeah, I'll tell you what, mate. If your temperature, your body temperature is above 1.5 degrees higher than it should be, you'll fucking know about it, mate. You'll fucking know about it because you'll be in bed with a fucking wet flannel on your head, freaking out. Anyway, the big problem really for Labour and for Burnham, well, Burnham in particular, is that Makerfield is exactly the type of seat that Refuck thinks it can win. It's a former Labour industrial seat. It voted 2/3 for Brexit. There's a lot of economic frustration, a distrust of Westminster, feeling of decline, anger at mainstream politics. Refuck have already performed strongly locally there in the locals last week. They won all constituency wards in the recent elections, and that is deeply alarming for Labour. Burnham may improve Labour's chances, but he's still walking into hostile territory, which is, like I say, I think this will prove the doubters wrong if he gets in, and if he doesn't get in, well, they'll prove the doubters right, and maybe it will give Starmer the boost that he needs. I don't know, or the kick up the arse that he needs. And Farage is going to treat this as a national battle, which is why every time Farage sticks his ugly head above the parapet, we have to say, what happened to that 5 million, Nigel? What did you spend that 5 million on? For your security? Was it rewards? Did you pay tax on it? Well, what about that 5 million? Why did you declare that 5 million, you twat? But if Refuck beats Burnham, that could break Labour psychologically. It will dominate the media narrative forever. Well, at least over the silly season of the summer. And it looks like a genuine route to power for Nigel Farage's disgusting fucking outfit full of shills and gobshites out for their next paycheck, out for their next bit of grift from the billionaires who fund them. But Burnham does have a secret weapon here. He doesn't sound like Westminster, and that matters enormously. The voters, I mean, they I was going to say they're pretty good at detecting authenticity, but they're not. Because obviously they vote for people like Farage and Johnson. But there is a subsect of any given community where people do care about people who sound authentic. And I knocked the last guy who led Labour into a fucking pit, but for leading them into a pit. But to a lot of people, he did sound authentic. He didn't sound authentic to me. I'm just, but there's lots of people that Burnham sounds authentic to. The people who feel like Starmer doesn't sound authentic because of the invisible Starmer wall, the wall of Starmer. Burnham sort of skirts around that, and he does wallow in his and celebrate his northern identity, and that feels real rather than like, I don't know, focus groups. Like Starmer, when he gets excited about football, it does feel like he's reading from a script. It's like, I've been told to say that football is, up the Gunners. Do you know what I mean? And also, is footballification of politics, the footballification of politics has been picked up by Burnham, and he's fucking riding with it, with the pride in his community, pride in region, shared identity, anti-elitism, without that same cultural war hysteria undermining it. And he understands decline. He understands, this is a guy who, like me, grew up in Liverpool in the 1980s and saw the shit that went down. Liverpool was left to manage decline by the Tories. It was only Michael Heseltine, this is weird praising a fucking Tory, but it was Michael Heseltine who put his foot down and said, no, this is worth protecting. This is part of our history. It's part of our, it's almost our civic duty to do this. But don't forget, in the 70s and 80s, the population of Liverpool fucking halved. It was nearly 1 million. It was nearly 1 million at the beginning of the 70s. By the end of the 80s, it was down to under 500,000. That's how many people left. Entire streets boarded up. You don't know what it was like unless you lived through it. I can tell you about it, but when I was a kid, one of the places we used to play was just the old shunting yards of the trains that have been all fucking allowed to grow over. There was a few rail lines bits of rail there. We used to ride all over it in our BMX bikes. I mean, it's just do you know that Rally made a bike called a grifter, a rally grifter? Do you reckon that's what Nigel Farage fucking that's what Nigel Farage fucking went about on? It's fucking grifter. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, he's seen that. Andy Burnham's seen that. He's been a friend of the campaign to get justice for the 97 who died in Hillsborough as a result of Hillsborough. And under his leadership, I think the Hillsborough law would have already been brought into bloody law. We keep talking about it. Can you actually fucking do it? I think the way that Burnham understands decline in that way, the decline of the Northwest and the North, in its entirety, lands differently than people who grew up in the South who never had to fucking deal with that shit, that same level of shit. I know people had a bad time in the 1980s, but all things considered, the South half of England did a lot better out of it than the North half or Scotland or Wales. And, some non-Labour voters like Burnham, which is unusual in modern politics. He has a crossover appeal to soft Greens, traditional Labour voters, some anti-Tory centrists, some reform-curious working-class voters will go to Burnham as a safe pair of hands. But this comes with enormous risks. It really does, because if Burnham loses, although I said it might, empower Starmer a little bit, Labour will enter genuine panic mode. The Labour civil war backfires. Farage conquers in the Labour heartland. Starmer weakened and rivals destroyed. So if Starmer doesn't even make the most of this, if he doesn't win, and the consequences for Burnham would be absolutely catastrophic. That's the end of his political career. He is putting his political career on the line by doing this. And if he loses in this by-election, that's it for him. It's over. And you know what? I think a lot of people are going to respect that. A lot of people are going to respect the fact that he's put that on the line. People go, "Oh, it's all ego. It's all ego." If it was all ego, he'll just take a safe seat. He'll just hang on until, it gets really, really, really bad with Starmer or whatever, and he'll take a safe seat. That's what he would do. Ivan, thanks very much for the £5 super chat. You deleted your message, but Ivan, if you just want to write something, you don't need to give a super chat. I will read it out. Just Hannah says, my old school socialist dad still has a lot of respect for Heseltine purely because of what he did for Liverpool. Yeah. And also, I mean, he's now the president of the European movement. So, there's that. Why didn't they just let Andy stand in the first place if it was a safer seat for him to win? I don't think at the time there was as much of an appetite of replacing Starmer. I mean, they're not stupid. They know what the writing on the wall is. If Burnham wins this, then he's going to be the next leader. He just is. I'll be very surprised if he wins this election in deepest, darkest refuck country, and he doesn't then get voted in as leader before the next Labour conference in September. But yeah, I just think that back then Starmer had a bit more standing, but then since then the Mandelson scandal has really damaged Starmer. It's really damaged Starmer. It's damaged Wes Streeting as well. That's why Wes Streeting didn't fucking run, because the Mandelson thing has fucked them, right? And then we had the catastrophic by-election results. Labour heartlands going over to refuck. To be fair, Manchester will still be mayor of Manchester if he loses. But I mean, that'll be it. I mean, that'll be it for his political ambitions in Westminster. He's never going to be able to do it again. He's already tried to be leader twice and failed. So third time's the charm, I guess. Heseltine was the best of a bad bunch, yeah. Ivan, thank you very much for the super chat, Ivan. Thank you. Streeting and Burnham are directly making me more ill. My psychiatrist will hear the lot of it on Monday. Ivan, honestly, in the greater scheme of things, your mental health needs to take priority over all this shit. This is just a Westminster psychodrama. And at the end of the day, Labour are still going to be in power till 2029, and hopefully they'll do some more good stuff in those intervening years. Whether it's whether it is Burnham in charge or whether it's Starmer in charge, I don't think it matters in the greatest. I think that I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm saying as far as I'm concerned, your mental health is a lot more important than this shit. Maybe in 2029 we can really start worrying about it, but right now Nigel Farage is on the ropes because people are talking more and more about this money that he's been given. He's been attacked by Ben Habib, who said that he took a bribe before the 2019 elections. I mean, maybe there's someone smarter than I, well, maybe not smarter than I, just smarter than everyone else in bloody Westminster, who's keeping a dossier, a folio on all this corruption of Farage, and we can one day launch a criminal investigation into the motherfucker and get him put in jail forever. I don't know, but yeah, I do worry that Starmer is just so unpopular. I mean, he is the most unpopular politician in the UK at the moment. He's one of the most unpopular politicians in the world right now. And for the same reason I didn't want Corbyn taking them into the 2019 election, because he was so fucking unpopular. At the time, he was more unpopular than Trump. He was more unpopular than Trump. He was more, and people go, people hate Boris Johnson. Like, yeah, they don't hate Boris Johnson as much as they hate him. Unfortunately, it's not his fault. Well, a little bit his fault, but it's just the way it goes. And politics, if we're going to live in a democracy, it's going to be a popularity contest. It just is. And like I said at the top of the show, Burnham is +4 in his approval, and he can build on that. He's the only Labour politician who's got his head above water, as far as I can see. I don't think a change of leader will make a difference. The powers that be in Labour won't change. Well, no, I think they can, Gallifreyan, because don't forget, look, Labour is a democracy. It is. When people go, oh, Starmer's made this U-turn, it's like, yeah, because he could say what he likes when he says, I'm gonna run for leader. I want to do this, this, and this. It's not a role as a president. He is primus inter pares. He's the first amongst equals. That is the whole setup. You have in a cabinet, in a shadow cabinet, doesn't matter, right? And so if the cabinet don't want to do it, or the backbench MPs, as we saw when they tried to go after Pip and they had to rip it out of the bill at the last minute because the backbench MPs were like, fuck off, we're not going to vote for this. Labour have a massive majority of like over 150, but if 100 of their MPs says I'm going to vote the other way on this one, they're not going to get it through. So yeah, the control of Labour. I mean, I know they do stupid shit like we'll vote for a fairer voting system in the conference, and then they'll just completely ignore us. But I think by and large, Labour is a democracy, and if they tell Starmer that they don't want to do the thing that he wants to do, that he says I want to do this, I want to get back into the single market, and then the other people in the cabinet say no, we don't want you to do that. He can't do it. He can't do it on his own. He can't force them all to do it. I know Thatcher famously said, what was it, when she had the cabinet meeting and she said, that's 1 vote for and 24 votes against. The motion is carried because it was her vote that she wanted to do. But I can't see a Labour politician, a Labour leader, being able to get away with that. The rest of Labour just simply won't allow them. There were a lot of good Labour MPs. I mean, like as in good people who stand up and actually give a shit about their constituencies, which is more than can say for refuckers, because I don't think Nigel Farage even knows where Clacton is. And LUFC Mert, thank you very much for the $5. Do you think Burnham becoming leader would devastate the Greens' prospects? I think it will have an impact on it, because I've got to be honest, apart from trans rights, which obviously we discuss a lot on this channel, I don't see that big a difference between Labour policy and Green policy. Labour's policy when it comes to taxing the rich, well, they brought in VAT on fucking private schools. They did a lot of shit. I know it's not fucking great, is it? But it's not enough. But do you think that if the Greens got into power, actually into, the biggest party in Westminster, I've said this a million times, but Labour in opposition is very, very different from Labour in government. It always has been. Under Attlee, under Wilson, under Callaghan, under Blair, Brown, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who the PM is. The Labour, when they're in power, they go a lot more centralist. The reason for this is it's hard to do this stuff. It's easy to say it. It's easy to go tax the rich. But then when it actually gets down to the nitty gritty of, okay, how do we make the system work? And how do we stop these little twats from escaping? You know, VAT on private schools is a fucking genius idea because they can't escape that. You can't move the private school to another country. You can't offshore it. You can't put it into cryptocurrency. This is money that rich people spend on their little crotch nuggets. And you know, they've got enough money to pay. You know what? I looked up, what's the one that, what's the school that, James O'Brien went to? Amberford, Amber Rudd, Ambleside, something like that, whatever it is. You know, I looked that up. I think it was £57,000 a year to send your kid to Ampleforth. That's what it's called. Wasn't that Dumbledore's brother? Ampleforth was £57,000 a year. I mean, you've got that much money to spare, you know, like it gives a fuck if you put another 25% on it. But yeah, that was a good way of getting money out the incredibly rich. They closed the loophole for rich people to buy vast swathes of property, vast swathes of farmland, and pretend they've got a farm there because they put a cow on the field and go, look, it's a farm, got a cow, and they're using that to avoid their offshoots paying inheritance tax. That's got money into the treasury. I really like what Mondami did in New York, where he's just said, right, anyone own a property it's worth more than 15 million, you're going to have to pay a bunch of tax on that. Good. Labour are also pushing up the windfall taxes on these fuel companies, which are making ridiculous profits at the moment out of the war in Iran. The on and off again war in Iran. Yeah, and before. Oh, Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super chat, mate. Oh yeah, you got the goal. You achieved the goal. Thank you, Ivan. I don't like Burnham. Ego and high opinion of himself. I don't have to justify myself. Johnson is the worst PM in history. Caused harm to me, my family, and so many other people. Again, I don't have to justify myself. I'm not saying you do have to justify yourself. You don't like someone. You don't like someone. It's fine. It's okay. But it's also okay for other people to like him. Like, you know, that's just the way it goes. People like Boris fucking Johnson. I don't know why they like Boris Johnson. At least with Andy Burnham, I can see why people do warm to him, mostly because he's an Everton fan. And so he knows what it's like to lose. But yeah, I get it. I get it. Listen, thank you very much for that, Ivan. And that has allowed me to do this. 3, 2, 1, come, Sammy! Yay! Yes, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good. But yes, thank you, Ivan. That's very kind of you. So yeah, we need to look at, when we're discussing all this, you know, the psychological impact of what it would mean to Labour voters, to Labour supporters, if Burnham was the leader instead of Starmer. Now listen, right? I think my own 2 pence, right? I've said before, I think that he should have stayed on as mayor until the end of his term, and then in May 2028, that's when his term ran out, then he comes back into Labour and just runs Labour just for the 8 months up to the election in the summer of 2029, the general election. That's what I would have done, because you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain, right? Starmer was a fucking hero for the first few years of him being the leader of Labour. He managed to detoxify the Labour Party. He got rid of all the knobheads, right? And let's just call them what they were, fucking knobheads, right? Who made Labour absolutely unelectable with their fucking own stupidity. He got rid of them all, or he shut them up, right? He made Labour electable in a way that no one thought was possible. Everyone thought when Boris Johnson got in 2019 and made Brexit happen, and we knew it was going to be a disaster, and it was, we thought we were stuck with them for another 10 years. That was it. 10 years of this fucking bullshit, right? And then events, my dear, events. COVID, Then the Boris Johnson being a feckless moron and getting yeeted out of power by his own party because they were sick of his bullshit. Then we had Truss, absolutely fucking the worst prime minister in history worse than Lord North, who lost us the American colonies. Like, she is just the absolute pits when it comes to a prime minister. She was only prime minister for a month and a half, and she managed in that month and a half to fuck our economy every which way but Sunday. Like, what the fuck? Burnham would have stayed until 2028 if effing Streeting hadn't resigned. Yeah, that might well be the case. But I had a discussion with Phil about this because Phil's take on it was that it would be better for Starmer to go now, and for Burnham to come in now, rather than wait a couple of years. Now, I'm in the school of waiting for a couple of years because, as I was saying about Starmer, he managed to take Labour from being an unelectable fucking basket case of a fucking a party at war with itself. He managed to detoxify it. He managed to get everyone together and go, right, okay, we're going to get ourselves elected. They had a plan to do it. And I'm kind of like, when people go, oh yeah, but the more people voted for Labour in 2019, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have a first past the post system, right? What you need to do, you don't need to win 90% of the vote in a handful of constituencies. What you need to be able to do is you need to be able to get 35% of the vote in hundreds of constituencies. That's the way to win. Doesn't matter, there is a certain amount of votes that you need, and the ones on top of that, you do not need those votes to win. That is the stupid system that we have, and I know it's a stupid system, and I know that we should have proportional representation, and we know it should be fairer, but it's not. This is when you're going to an election, and this is the setup, you have to be strategic about it, and that's what the previous leaders of Labour the previous leader of Labour didn't get through his thick fucking stubborn as a mule fucking head, right? He didn't get it because he thought, well, I'll appeal to this extra, 40% of the voters in this particular constituency, even though every single one of those votes was effectively wasted. They didn't need it to return an MP in that constituency. What they needed to do is make it so Labour didn't look scary to people. Labour under the last leader, to a lot of voters, looked scary. So much so that they voted for Boris Johnson's fucking Tory party over the scary Labour Party because they were scared of it. It scared them. And you need to understand that people vote through emotion. And Starmer worked this out with Labour together. I will give them their due. They won that. They helped win that election. And we can say, oh no, but it was just because everyone was fucking sick of the Tories. Mate, we were sick of the Tories in 2017. They still won the election. We were sick of the Tories in 2019. They still won the election. There was no difference in 2024. Maybe we were a little bit more sick of the Tories. But if Labour hadn't turned it around under Starmer, so we had the euphoria of Starmer winning, of the Labour Party under Starmer winning. The euphoria, it was great. We all had a fucking big party. It was wonderful. And then within like a couple of months, all that goodwill had evaporated. And people were like, oh, I'm not happy with what Starmer's doing. And then a few months later, especially my trans friends, were just like, what the fuck are they doing? What the fuck are they doing? Like, seriously, what the fuck, guys? And it's just got worse from there. And this is it. You either die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain. I think that if they get in, if it's not going to happen now, but if they got in Burnham in just the last year before the general election, and that would have been a much better, because he wouldn't have time to fuck up. What's going to happen now is he's going to have 3 fucking years in which to make a mistake. And, just don't get me wrong. He will make a mistake. He will mess up massively on something. And don't forget, we expect people on the left to be purer than pure, to get everything right, to never make a mistake, never say the wrong thing, never make a fucking typo, never get, anything wrong at all. We will jump on it like a bunch of fucking jackals. Because, I don't know, we're dickheads like that. The right don't care. The right have the most flawed politicians it's possible to have. And they don't give a tit. They don't give a toss. They don't give a flying fuck for a rolling donut. We see this time and time and time again. We've got some more super chats coming. This is very kind of you. I don't even have the confetti goal set up. I better do that. We've got Burnham would have stayed till 2028. I've read that one. If it hadn't been for the backbenchers, Labour would have cut Pip. Another government whose first target is the vulnerable, says Miss Paul Thomas. Yep, but the backbenchers did stop them doing that. And that is a break on Labour, trying to, the Labour front bench trying to do stupid shit. That is a break that the Tories don't have, and that the refuck certainly don't fucking have. The refuck party is the cult of Nigel Farage. That's it, top to bottom, left to right. But yeah, I Wes can go and suck a fisherman's friend. Love that joke. It didn't do any good. But yes, so we have the worry if Burnham loses, he's fucked. His aura collapses overnight. Starmer would remain in post. Would he be slightly empowered by this? Slightly, but it's not going to stop Streeting and the other MPs that don't want him manoeuvring again. Labour MPs are panicking right now over their own seats. I know they are. I've spoken to people who are in very, very safe seats up to this point, who are very, very concerned about what the situation is going to be like in 2029. And, a reform victory in Makerfield will terrify Labour MPs across the North and the Midlands. Absolutely terrify them. And you know what? Scared people make stupid fucking decisions. We see this time and time again. You scare people enough, you can get them to do daft things because they're terrified. And I worry about Labour MPs going into the trap of thinking, we've got to refuck, and we've got to be really horrible to immigrants, and we've got to be really horrible to asylum seekers, and we've got to be really horrible to single mums and the disabled, and we've got to be really horrible to trans people. And then if we're horrible enough, maybe people will come back to us and say, we're with Labour now, which isn't going to happen. Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super. Ivan's been very, very generous this morning. Thank you. We all have difficulties when things are happening outside of our control. It varies from person to person due to all we have different things we feel strongly about and deal with differently. What do we do though? Thanks, Ivan. I think for you in your case, I don't know why I've put 10 bloody. Hang on, I'm gonna remove this. I don't know why it came up as 10. That wasn't what it was supposed to do. Let's do it as 1. Let's do it as 1. Jesus, why does? It all reset itself because I had to refresh my feed here. There you go. 1 super chat. This is for Ivan for the £20. Thank you. Sorry, that was the super chat, right? Ivan, this is for you, mate. Yay! Confetti! Yay! Anyone who wants to drop a confetti in can. Sorry, a super chat. We'll get a confetti from now on. What do we do? I think in your case, Ivan, I think that taking a step back from all this would really help your mental state at the moment, because I know that you're getting particularly upset about all this shit going on, and I completely understand why you're getting upset by all this shit going on. But I also feel like your health has got to come first. The nation's still going to be here. The Labour Party's still going to be here. You can't make a difference on that level of what's happening at the top of the Labour Party. You can make a difference, as you've already shown, by making sure that Parliament take into account the needs of autistic people when the next pandemic comes along, and that's absolutely fantastic. If there's something else like that you can get your teeth into and focus on, I think that'd be really helpful, because we can't do anything about this. I don't live in Makerfield. I can't stop Burnham doing this. I can't stop Wes Streeting plotting behind the scenes. I can't make Keir Starmer more likable, more approachable. Why aren't you more approachable? We can focus on things that we can actually achieve and things that we can actually get done. That are within our and Ivan's been brilliant with this. Ivan's shown the way for a lot of us. Like, if you have a particular thing that you want Parliament to look at, if you push hard enough, they will look at it. And now's the time to do it as well, people. Now is the time to do it, because Labour are a lot more receptive to this kind of stuff than the Tories ever were. The Tories don't listen to their own members, never mind voters, never mind people who didn't vote for them. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck at all about anything except lining their own fucking pockets with the nation's cash. Anyway, so Yeah, the fuck have got to lose this election. They've got to lose this by-election. It's really unhelpful that I think the Greens say they're going to throw the kitchen sink at this. I'm like, can you not? Because if you want to enact some of the green policies that you want to happen, um, Andy Burnham's got a chance of beating Refuck in the next election, whereas the Labour, arguably with Starmer don't, but the Greens aren't going to win a majority in the next election. What would be in the Greens' interest to do now is to facilitate Burnham to getting in, hoping that Labour will win, but maybe with a much, much reduced majority, maybe leading to a hung parliament in which Labour need to go in with the Greens in order to form a government, which would give the Greens power like they've never, ever known before. That's the smart move. That's what I would do. But there's a lot of ego in this. I know people are talking about ego when they talk about Andy Burnham, but I disagree because I think that if that was the case, like I say, he would have just held off for a couple of years until he could get a safe seat. This is not a safe seat. He is playing Doom on nightmare mode at the moment, and it is death or glory. As far as his political career is concerned. And then we'll talk about the Wes Streeting factor. I mean, he resigned, but he didn't challenge Starmer. He lacks confidence in that. Well, he doesn't lack confidence, I don't think. He's a shiny faced prick, but he does lack the numbers. He's not as well supported as he believes he is. Because it's not just about getting 81 MPs to support your leadership bid. You then need to get over 150 MPs to vote for you, in the various rounds of voting. So you go through as one of the two picks that get given to the membership to say, do you want one of these or the other one? Burnham's arrival does change the equation as far as Wes Streeting is concerned. Because Burnham potentially unites groups that Streeting can't, like the soft left of Labour. Streeting can't go anywhere near that. They fucking hate him. He can get regional Labour figures. He's already got Steve Rotherham, the Metro Mayor of Liverpool, on board. He can get unions on board. He can get the anti-Starmer pragmatists. I regard myself as one of these pragmatists. I wouldn't call myself anti-Starmer. I don't think that he's done that bad a job. But having said that, his comms have been shit. He isn't personable. He has done great getting up to the point of getting Labour elected. Wonderful. But after the election, there was so much goodwill towards Labour that thanks to some of the stupid decisions that he and Rachel Reeves made in those first few months, absolutely evaporated all that goodwill so fucking quickly. And that, for me, it's a little bit unforgivable. And at the end of the day, like I say, I'm not anti-Starmer. I don't think that he's a particularly bad guy or anything, but the facts and the figures are in. You can look at the polls. You can actually look at the electoral results across the country in the local elections last year and this year, and there's a pattern. There is a definite pattern of Labour doing fucking badly. They lost 1,500 councillors last week. 1,500 councillors. That's an insane number. That's kind of devastating. So I can't see them. I don't think it's a good idea based on just either both cold hard figures, cold hard logic, but also on an emotional level, which I care about probably a bit more. I don't think he's the right person to lead Labour into the next election. And we can argue about whether Burnham should come now, be the leader by September, or whether he should wait 2 years. Obviously, he feels like his hand has been pushed, possibly by Wes Streeting, and he's going for it. He's going for it, and yeah, like I say, it's death or glory. Some MPs feel like Burnham is gambling with everyone's future. Labour is already unstable. This could make things worse. A by-election defeat would be catastrophic for Labour. It might be good for Starmer on a personal level. It might improve his ratings, but a by-election defeat for Labour would be absolutely catastrophic. And you'd have that dickhead, gobshite motherfucker, Nigel Farage crowing about it. It makes, because he's coming now and not at the end of his tenure as mayor, it does make him look ambitious and impatient. And some people feel like Burnham has been undermining Labour for years, which I don't believe. I mean, I don't think he has been. You could say the same thing about Sadiq Khan, saying that the Labour should get back into the EU effectively, the single market. And Labour have said, no, that's not our policy, whatever. It's something that regional mayors who are powerful, like Sadiq, and popular, like Sadiq Khan. Sadiq Khan's won 3 elections on the trot. He'll probably win a 4th if he runs again. But Sadiq Khan isn't popular outside of London, whereas Wes Streeting, whereas Andy Burnham is popular outside of Manchester. And then we've got the sort of, the deeper divide. This is why some of the MPs hate this. They see it as the divide between Westminster Labour and regional Labour, managerial politics versus emotional politics. And I'm very much more on the emotional politics side of things. I think that's how most people vote. I don't think that's how most people vote. That's how most people vote. That's just a fact. People vote with their hearts. They go, I don't like this person. I fucking hate this person. And you go, well, why do you hate that person more than you hate this person? And it's like, well, they're both twats or something, but this person is, to me, less of a twat than the other one. That's how most people fucking vote. Who do I hate the least? There are cases where people actually like an MP. It does happen, and they're not very often, but it does happen. People actually like a politician and they give them positive feelings. Don't think for a moment that the people voting Trump don't actually like him. They do. They fucking love him. He's a fucking, he's the head of a cult. People liked Boris Johnson. They thought he was funny. Life and soul of the fucking party. Gobshite. But people vote with their hearts. So they just do. And when it comes to the style of politics that Labour Starmer has led, he's led this very managerial style of politics. But the policies are going to be pretty much the fucking same under Andy Burnham. There's going to be huge differences. It's just going to be in the way it's put to the people. I think the comms are going to improve. I hope. Jesus Christ, and. Yeah, like I say, I mean, you look at the Green manifesto, you look at the Labour manifesto, they're pretty fucking similar, They're pretty fucking similar. There's not that much in it. And to be honest with you, the fucking Lib Dems manifesto is not that different either. I mean, the Tories and the refuckers certainly is. I mean, they just want to kill everyone who doesn't look like them. But yeah, can Burnham become PM? Technically, yes, right? But he still has to win selection. The NEC have said they're not going to block it, but he still has to win that. He still has to win the by-election. He has to enter Parliament. He has to secure 81 MPs to back him. He has to defeat Starmer in a leadership bid. He has to survive potential rival candidates in the form of maybe Streeting, maybe Angela Rayner. Politically, the fact that we're discussing this, it just shows how weak Starmer looks right now. And Burnham supporters think that Labour needs an emotional reconnection. I think that as well. I genuinely believe that this could be a really good thing for Labour if he wins. And also, if he wins, like I say, in deepest, darkest fucking refuck territory of Makerfield, then fucking great, I think Labour needs authenticity, and I don't think that Starmer comes across as authentic. And it's not his fault, it's just his personality. He hasn't got one. Labour needs regional credibility, and Starmer does represent the London elite if you want him to. Whereas Burnham doesn't, and he never will. He's not London elite. You can tell in the way he talks. He sounds a bit like me. And then, Labour needs, especially in its heartlands, it needs regional credibility like never before. And one thing that I think Labour will change under Burnham is you're going to see a lot more devolution. You're going to see a lot more devolution of powers and people giving power to make their own decisions in their own little local area. And Labour needs someone who can take the fight to reform. And unfortunately, all things being equal, if Farage hadn't fucking turned up and it was just Kemi Badenoch and Keir Starmer, mouthing off on each other during PMQs each week, it wouldn't make any difference. The Tories would still lose the next election. Labour would have a slightly reduced majority, but they'll fucking walk it. We need someone who's leading Labour who can fight reform directly. And if you can give me a name that isn't Andy Burnham of someone who can actually fucking do that, I'd be very surprised. someone who's a household name, someone who's got the credibility to do it, the personality to do it, to go up against Nigel Farage. And we want to see that. You saw the way he went up against Boris Johnson during COVID. You saw that, right? If he can pull that same trick going up against Nigel Farage, then it can make all the difference. And as far as I'm concerned, Burnham may genuinely be Labour's best, strongest communicator. He does genuinely connect better with working class voters. He does. I mean, like, this isn't even up for debate. He just does. And he may genuinely understand England outside Westminster better than most Labour MPs. None of that guarantees victory. None of that magically fixes our economic stagnation or the fact that we decided to pull out of the biggest and most successful trading union the world has ever seen, to the detriment of our finances for the foreseeable. We took our rights away from the young people of this country. We ripped them away from them and said, right, that's it. You got to stay in your village. You got to fuck your sister. You got to, settle down, rent a house for the rest of your fucking life. Don't go anywhere. Don't see anything. Don't do anything. Don't have ambitions. Don't have don't have horizons that you want fulfilled. Don't have any of that. They want our life in this country to be nasty, brutish, and short. The powers that be, the rich, the fucking ultra wealthy, the people who funded Brexit, them and the Russians who obviously funded Brexit as well. But yeah, if Burnham gets in, we need to be realistic. It's not going to fix everything overnight. We're not going to rejoin the EU. We're not going to bring in UBI tomorrow. We're not going to, bring in proportional representation tomorrow. We might bring in new voting laws. That would be great, because Burnham has been on the record to say he wants to see more PR. And then that'd be bloody wonderful, especially before the 2029 election. But the thing is that the rise of Farage and refuck it's bigger than just managerial politics. It's about distrust. It's about alienation. It's about economic decline, the collapse in faith in institutions, regional inequality, cultural anger, political exhaustion. I mean, no, people are feeling fucking exhausted right now. We see it every day. And Burnham might be the best person Labour has to fight that particular battle. I don't know. I hope that he is, right? But I can tell you this now. Starmer isn't. I'm sorry. He just isn't, as far as I'm concerned, and he hasn't been for quite a while now. And yeah, there is the question of whether Burnham's walking into a trap that proves that Labour can no longer hold its old coalition together. But it's only been 2 years since it's not even been 2 years yet since the last general election. Things can change in politics very, very quickly. Anyway, so this is the one robot. I'd rather a lot of stuff than Reform winning. Then it's all lost. Yeah. We're in a fight for human rights. Yeah, but the first thing that refuck are going to do is take away all your human rights. If you're disabled, you're going to be able to be taken out of your job. You're going to be able to sacked for being disabled, for being a woman, for going through menopause. They want to bring that back. They could sack you for being gay. That's what refuck want to do. They want to scrap the Human Rights Act. They want to pull us out of the European Convention of Human Rights. He supports PR and is more pro-EU. Yes. However, we are much. This is from Ivan. However, we are much better than expected GDP figures on Thursday. And if it wasn't for Streeting's and Burnham's games, the pound and markets may be in a better position. Yeah, I agree. The markets didn't react very well to Burnham. Getting put forward. Well, he's not been selected yet, but probably getting put forward to run in Makerfield. But at the same time, they just don't like any kind of instability. So if Burnham gets in and he's the new leader by September, they'll see that as a sign of stability, probably. But I kind of hate the fact that a lot of things in our country are just run on what the filthy rich who've got money in their bonds, money in government gilt yields, government gilts. They're the people who get to decide what happens in politics. But based on polling data, based on the results of actual general elections, based on on local elections in England and these regional elections to the Welsh Senate and the Scottish Parliament, Labour are in a fucking hole at the moment, and we need to stop digging. It's as simple as that. I'll take a little bit of a knock, sort of economically speaking, in the very, very, very short term, to ensure that in the long term we have a functioning government with a leader who can actually get people on board with the program, with the Labour program, and that's something that Labour just haven't managed to achieve. They do fucking amazing stuff, like the Renters' Rights Act. They do brilliant stuff like the Workers' Rights Act. They do brilliant stuff like, making sure that every kid in the country gets breakfast in the morning. They're bringing back short start schemes. They changed the name, but it's the same sort of idea. They're doing a lot of good, but they just can't sell it. It's very frustrating. It's like, I guess it's like, someone at the town fucking carnival fucking trying to sell this elixir that is an absolute panacea, can cure everything, but he's just not a very good salesperson. And he's standing there sort of reading his notes going, and if you use this medicine, you will never have runny poo ever again. I'm like, no one's listening. They just can't sell it. I mean, as far as Burnham's concerned, he can fucking sell it. Or at least he believes. He believes he can. He believes he can. Okay, so Channel 4 news report from Makerfield and Vox Pop showing a lot of support for Andy, apart from some old lady who blamed immigrant for this housing shortage and was voting fucking reform. Yeah, indeed. People in power have an awful lot more pressures and influences than most of us have never heard or thought of, in my opinion. Yeah. No, like I say, it's easy for me to sit here and go, they should do this, they should do that. But the actual practicality of doing it, like me saying, oh, they should make a movie where they do this and this happens and this happens. That's a fucking piece of piss. Anyone can do that. But then to actually make a fucking movie, go for it, mate, if you think you can. Even writing a fucking book is fucking hard. It's easy to come up with an idea for a book. Oh, I think that we should have a book and there's an ogre and a snot goblin and they solve crimes. You're fucking writing that fucking thing, fucking illustrating it. It's a big time and fucking getting it published, getting it out to people, advertising it. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The bond markets the world over are mad at the moment because of geopolitical instability. Iran, Russia, and Taiwan. Yeah, they hate instability, and there's something that is being delivered in spades by Trump and his fucking dickheads around the world, the pony men of the apocalypse, him and Netanyahu, Putin, and Farage, is instability. But thank you for that, Ms. Paula Thompson. It allows me to do this. Yay! Good Confetti! Anyway, okay, so I'm going to head off now. Well, actually, should we do the papers very, 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 very quickly? Because I've been going on for over 2 hours here. Okay, very quickly, and I'll just reset the goal. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, it was just any super chat will result in confetti. The I weekend there, £2 paper. Burnham return back to inside cabinet as he vows to soften stance on Brexit. Fuck yes! Come on, please. Yeah, bring it. And there he is in his vintage Everton shirt. I don't remember that shirt. It wasn't before my time because I was around at that, but I was only like 3 or 4 years old. The first one I remember, I think, is the NEC one. The NEC, when they were sponsored by NEC. And at the time, I think Liverpool was sponsored by Crown Paints. If you remember that. Anyway, so Paloma Faith there, her new baby, and the ban on help from dads. We've got first UK billionaire sportsman David, Dosh, and Bex. Golden Halls. Sir David Beckham is the UK's first billionaire sportsman as he and his wife Victoria's wealth hit £1.2 billion dollars. It's nice for them. We've got the Daily Telegraph here. Claim your free pint. No. Frances Tophill. I don't want to go the full Monty. Frances Tophill. Who's Frances Tophill? I don't know, but she doesn't want to go the full Monty. She's on the front cover of a newspaper and she's being allowed to present Gardener's World. So we're going to take bets now. Take your bets. Did she go to a private school? Frances Tophill, British horticulturalist. She was born in Deal in Kent. Korea. Okay, no, it's not telling me where she went to school. So what I'm going to do is, sometimes this works. Did Frances Tophill go to private school? What was this? Celebrity Garden, Open School, TV Gardener, Frances Tophill, So Roger Manwood School. Oh, that's a grammar school. Okay. Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Yay! That means I can fire off the Covfefe cannon again. So Roger Manwood School. It's a grammar school. Okay, so maybe she went to a grammar school. Okay, I'll let her off. Oh, I thought I was going to be able to add another person to my private school mafia, but I can't. I'm sad now. She would have been the 1,314th name on the list. Anyway, Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The debate on here has been robust but respectful, but I'm frightened that this won't be the case as time goes on with Labour Party members. It might not be, but I mean, don't fucking debate them then. Yeah, you're not going to bring people around by debate. I don't bring people around. I just like to think that like everyone on here kind of thinks the same way I do on stuff. I'm not going to like convince anyone. I don't think. I'm not that convincing. I think most people are just like, yeah, we want the world to be a better place. I hope. But yeah, I think there's certain people who can be quite nasty when it comes to sort of politics and they can get quite personal, and it's really not great. It's really not great. Hadlow College, Horticultural Studies during apprenticeship. BSc in Horticultural with Plantmanship. Yeah, but Hadlow College is not a school, is it? It's a college of... It's a university, isn't it? It's like a university thing. There you go. Anyway, so let's go back to Frances Tophill, who I've let off. Starmer could step aside for Burnham. Rayner to give way to, but Streeting would run if Manchester wins by-election. Streeting is going to do shit. And then Reeves back. I mean, look, if it's between Streeting and Burnham, I mean, Burnham will win 90% of the fucking vote. I mean, it won't even be close. It won't even be nearly close. Okay, so Reeves backs Pub's campaign. Okay. And then we got £150,000 a year civil service pensions. Fucking hell. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. The people are earning £150,000 a year, not working, putting their feet up playing PlayStation. And we're giving them pensions on top of that. Fuck that shit. 1 in 8 newborn boys live to 100. That's nice. How do you know? And then we've got Bamford settles. Then you have to come back in 100 years. And then Bamford settles saga of JCB succession. That's Bamford, the guy who supported Brexit massively with loads of money, and also supported Boris Johnson massively with loads of money, and also went to private school. But, you know, he made all his money himself. And then you've got Trump. Only I know if I'll defend Taiwan. Oh, God, he's such a gobshite. Daily Mail here, Daily Fail. Starmer faces his water poo. And they've got a VW camper van there for money. I think, is that the Buzz? Is that the Buzz? Is that the electric one? I don't know. It's kind of cool. How many BBC board went to private school? Asked Andrew Ray. All of them, I think. Yeah. Burnham will push to be next PM by autumn. We've got Mandelson vetting files withheld by ministers. We've got rivals. Sex scenes are radical. They're not that radical. They're all right. Starmer faces his Waterloo. No one will mistake Burnham for the Duke of Wellington, but he'll fight to win Commons seat and topple the PM on anniversary of famous battle. Oh, well, there you go. Get the ABBA soundtrack out. And then there's a horrible story here of Carrie Johnson, who was drugged by the black cab rapist. I don't think she was actually assaulted herself, but she was drugged. That's a fucking awful story. Fucking hell. And then we've got the Daily Express here. Farage, we will give him a very nasty shock. Is it Strictly Come Smiling for new host Emma Willis? I don't know who Emma Willis is. Do we know who Emma Willis is? Should we look her up? Emma Willis. Emma Willis. Let's have a look. She is a... oh, wow. She's 50 years old. She's looking good for 50, isn't she? Woof. She presented Big Brother, born in Sutton Coldfield, and she went to a normal school. Oh, good. I'm glad for that. Oh, she worked as a model. Oh, there you go. That's why she's hot. And then we've got the Mirror here. 1 billion Dosh and Beck. Same story as the other one. There's Burnham going out for a run. Burnham prepares to run in a leadership race. You see, and he's running. It's funny. I made the same joke on my little thumbnail today. Heart and Soul and Champagne. Jilly Cooper remembered by the women she worked with. Obviously, she died last year, and everyone's watching Rivals now. Trump says it's tough for Starmer to survive as PM. US President renews his criticism of Keir Starmer. Blah, 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 blah. Dawn French, I survived grief and heartbreak, which is nice. PM readies for battle by focusing on defence. Starmer to approve an extra 18 billion for the Ministry of Defence. Ministers wants Burnham anointed as successor. Yeah, I think that's probably the best route if he wins this election. I think that's the biggest hurdle. If he wins this election, he's a shoo-in for leader, but he's got to win the election, and it's not going to be easy. And apparently, I mean, not just Refuck are going to bring out all the big guns, also the Greens are as well. And it could get quite mucky. Okay, so speaking of mucky, here's the FT weekend. We've got summer travel there with a woman who's stuck on a boat on the sand. That's not the way boats work. And then we've got UK risks paralysis amid Labour fight. Whitehall fires warning. Government will grind to a halt. Key policies facing delay while they faff about. So this is why if he wins the election next month, then it's got to be a quick succession, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want a drawn out thing like what the Tories did when they were in power and Boris Johnson was gotten rid of, and it took them 3 months to put a new politician in, a new elected leader in. And they didn't like her, so they got rid of her in 6 weeks. In fact, from the moment when Boris Johnson resigned to the moment that they have the new leader was put in, was more days than the new leader when it was Liz Truss actually was in office. That's kind of crazy. Havana Heat, CIA director in rare Cuba visit. Botox demand fails to sag as squeezed consumers prioritize skin treatments. Users of skin jabs such as botulism toxins and fillers, polyfillers, prioritizing injection despite a squeeze on their disposable income, according to a boss of dermatology group, Goldemar. Like I say, this is my position, and your mileage may vary. I think before undergoing any kind of operations like that, you need to have a psychological review to make sure you're all right. Because I think a lot of these procedures are actually a cry for help. That's my opinion anyway. Alleged crime boss stands in Dublin by-election fight. The alleged leader of one of Ireland's most notorious crime clans is running for a Dublin seat. Jesus Christ. I mean, that's making it a bit obvious, the link between organised crime and politics. I mean, at least Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage have the decency to pretend that they're not fucking gangsters, although they are gangsters. Right, my friends. This is it. I'm going to head off now. Cat's back from park run. She's been back a while, actually. I'm starving. Need some breakfast. It might be brunch now because it's way past 11. It's 11:23. So thanks very much for joining me this morning on Morning Brew, which is now going to run every day except for Sunday, in which I have a little bit of a lie-in on Sunday. A little tiny bit of a tiny lie-in. And then we have the Sunday sermon after the Sunday roast. Unless I'm doing a Sunday roast live again, and then I'll have to get up dead early. on a Sunday, on my only day when I can have a bit of a lie-in. But otherwise, I should see you. I don't know if I'm going to do a show later today. So as I said earlier, please give us a like. Please give us a like for the show. Whether you like what I said or not, please give us a like. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Please do that. And also hit the bell notification if you are subscribed. And you'll get a little ping in your pocket if I'm going to do a show later today. I might finish off Monkey Island. We're doing quite well on Monkey Island. We're on the Monkey Island at the moment. And we're trying to suss out how to find LeChuck's ghost ship. In order to do that, we need to get the head of the navigator. That turns the way that you need to walk. So I can remember. So yeah, we might have a game of that tonight, but I might save that till Monday. It just depends on if Scott is going to be able to do stateside again with us on Monday nights, and we can swap that out. So if I am about tonight and I'm up for doing a show, I will. If not, I'll just say I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 11 o'clock for the Sunday sermon. And then if you would care to join me in the evening on the Sunday, the Sunday social, we are going to have a very special guest, I hope, coming on the show, and I've just got to confirm that. But hopefully we'll have a very special guest on the show. And if you are part of the gang and you can ask, join in the chat, you can ask questions and put your points across and all that jazz. But fingers crossed, and it should be a really, really, really good show tomorrow. Please don't miss it. Starts at 8 o'clock, the Sunday Night Social, here on Hughes the World. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the super chats. You've been really generous this morning. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourselves. I mean that sincerely. And if things are getting on top of you, please take a break, take a step back. We always give the number for the Samaritans in the description of these videos, and I know what it can feel like to feel like it's all getting on top of you. And if that's happening, please take some time out. You don't have to watch me every day. You don't have to watch these shows. You don't have to keep up with me and Aid and Phil and Max and everybody else. You don't need to. Just take care of yourself, because you need to put the mask on yourself before you can put it on someone else, when the plane's going down. Diz, there was also the clause in the Equalities Act that states if the guidance unworkable day, it can be reviewed so that it can go direct. We will if the new guidance needs it. Phew, says L. McPherson, which we'll leave it on that one. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.